Today, I'm going to start in a hero's pose. So I'm going to take my block, and you could use a brick as well to stack it a little higher. Basically, you want to be able to support your sitting bones in some way. So I take the block behind onto all fours. These come together. Feet go out wide. And just ease my way in. So I take it quite gently. I'm waiting for the calf muscles to kind of ease into a position where they start to sort of move around a little bit. When you come in, start with, those calf muscles will be very tight, and that affects how nicely your knees can bend. So just giving you a little bit of ease, using the hands rather than dumping yourself down. This tricks your knee joints, the tendons and ligaments a little bit more finely. Toes are pointing back, so the boot laces are down, and I'm going to sit as tall as I can. And just let the hands rest on the front of the thighs. So I'm going to take a couple of minutes here, breathing in nice and slowly. So we're going to use a long, even breath. We're not filling the lungs as much as we possibly could to the point where they're bursting, but we want to get a decent breath in. And then see if we can try and exhale at the same tempo as the breath came in. Now float the arms out to the side and bring that right arm across. Lock with the left arm. So we're drawing the right shoulder around a little bit. Still breathing now a little more into the back of the ribs, the back of the shoulders. And release the arms out. And cross over the opposite way. Release the hands down. Now we're going to drop the chin in towards the chest and take a couple of circles with the neck. So we're going to start to look across the floor and the corner of my eye to the left shoulder. Let the eyes run up the wall slowly and then across the ceiling. Now, being careful not to drop the head back too far. Roll it across, down the opposite wall, along the floor, catch my eye, looking at the right shoulder, draw myself back into the center, and then I just reverse that back out. Going to the right, lifting up slowly. Seeing how the neck feels, the muscles, the discs, a little bit of chance to kind of understand where they're moving to, nice and gradually. I'll lift up from here onto the fingertips, just move the block out towards the front of the mat. Bring the heels a little more underneath the sitting bones, tucking the toes underneath. We'll sit back onto those toes. Just give them a little squish. Try not to let the heels kind of roll out to the side. You want them sort of pointing up towards the ceiling. And if you're able to take the hands away from the floor, great. But if you're happier to stay here, that's perfectly okay. And then we're going to release from there. So I'm going to bring the fingers right into the top end of the mat. Bring the knees underneath my body. I'm just going to give them a little stretch out first. Say hello to my legs again. Takes a little time for the blood to come back around. Just tap out the toes a little bit as well, if they feel like they need to be stretched. And then we'll bring ourselves into cat-cow. So we'll just draw the chest forwards, the shoulders back, tailbone to the sky. Exhale, draw the belly in, round up towards the ceiling. Inhaling through. And back again. You can take these into some barrel rolls as well, moving out to the side if you wish. And you can decide whether you want to move the shoulders and the elbows, get very sort of more floppy into this. And if you do, just taking it in both directions a couple of times. Stay with regular cat-cow, perfectly okay. And then we'll take the knees wide, feet together, and sit back down into child's pose. Ease our way down, stretching the hands out, just about shoulder distance apart, until we can get the head very close to the floor. Heels and boats connected. Again, you can use the block underneath the back of the bum if your knees are a little bit sore, squishing down this far. As soon as we had before, we used the blocks under the sitting bones. Same reason we're doing it. Just some nice long breaths here. We'll gently start to lift ourselves back. So bring the hands onto the front end of the mat. Allow myself to lift up. Bring the knees directly underneath the hips. I'm going to take the left hand and line a little more with the left knee, and then pivoting on the left knee, take the left foot out to the side as much as I can. Slide the right foot back and drop the heel in. I'm going to press the hips a little over towards the right side as I lift up into a side plank. And you're more than welcome to stay here, pressing down into that back foot, and pressing the hand into the floor to push away from the ground. Or if you want to come a little higher, you're going to take a breath, and on the exhale, try and lift your body up so you can come up onto the fingertips. That'll affect your balance a little bit more, so keep your eyes focused to the side of the mat. And again, if you want to take that further, you're going to lift the heel away from the ground, keep your big toe on the floor. And then if you want to take that further, you'll flex the foot, keeping that internal rotation, and slowly lift your leg to about the height of your hip. You're quite strong on the hip joint itself, but also great for bringing your focus back into the mat. If you're struggling with that at all. Then we'll bring the foot gently down, lay the hand back down, bring ourselves back down to the ground, onto all fours, and then adjust that right hand again. Pivot the right foot out, take the left leg back, sole of the foot to the floor. Allow ourselves to open up to the side. Lift onto the fingertips if you wish. Lift the heel if that feels good. And slowly take the foot away, flexed as it is. Now, some days you have, great balance, and some days you have good balance on one side and nothing at all on the other. Just work with what you've got. Keep yourself safe. Look after those fingers if you lift it up. One last breath here. And then bring the foot down as you exhale. Bring the hand down. Bring yourself back onto all fours. And from the tabletop position, we'll tuck the toes underneath and let ourselves move into down dog. We're not going to stay into down dog. We'll allow ourselves to take a breath into plank. And then lower the knees directly to the ground. Where they fall, they fall. Untucking the toes, we sit back onto the heels, into the ground, child's pose. Press into the shins as you exhale, round your spine, back up into tabletop. Put the toes back under again, lift knees away and the hips up and back into the down dog. We'll do that 2 more times. Coming forwards as we breathe in, knees to the ground. Untucking the toes and sitting back. Take a breath in. Press into the shins. Roll into neutral. Shoulders back a little bit. Tuck the toes under and lift ourselves up. And forwards for the last time. Knees to the floor. Sitting gently back. And pressing into the shins. Into that neutral position, tabletop. And slowly letting ourselves lift into that down dog. A couple of wags of the tail. And then they're going to start to walk the hands towards the toes. So they come into a forward bend. And ideally, you want to have your feet parallel distance apart. Hold here for a moment. Just let yourself kind of hang over the hips. Head down to the floor. Soften the shoulders a little bit, take them out wider rather than dropping them down to the floor. So not trying to strain to reach the ground, just letting the hands find their place. And as much bend in the knees as I need to achieve that. So we're going to warm up as we go through the class, and the legs will get straighter naturally as we do this. We are actually trying to lift the hips up towards the sky a little bit, drawing the belly in. And then we'll bring the hands onto the shins. We're going to lift up halfway. Draw the chest forwards and exhale back down to the floor. Slide the fingers into the shins and down and lift up again. And float it down. And one more time. Now take a breath here. Allow myself to soften the knees and sit back almost into a chair. And ideally, I want to get my ribs and thighs to touch. I'll take the arms forwards, draw the abdominal muscles in, take one more breath, and then allow myself to lift the body about halfway up. So keeping the legs more or less where they were, the weight's in the back of the heels a little bit. And drive through the legs slowly to lift back up. I'll let hands come wide, hand behind my back. Just draw the hands down, interlace towards the ground. Draw the shoulders back a little bit, then draw the hips back under. Hinge forwards again slowly. Allow myself to come into that forward fold again. This time I'm going to draw the shoulders up towards the sky and then begin to let the hands fall towards the front of the mat. Keep a little bit of effort in squeezing the shoulder blades together. Don't worry about how far they drop. Hands to the ground. Just a little squeeze, keeping the shoulders away from the ears. So you're actually drawing your shoulders down towards your bottom, which since we're upside down, means you're trying to lift them up towards the ceiling. Now we're going to release the hands back down gently to the hips, and then to the floor. We'll take the fingers to the ground just in front of me, and then lift the toes of the right foot up as I place the palm of my hand underneath my foot. So the back of my hand is on the ground, and the toes are into the wrists. Once that feels stable, do the same with the opposite leg. And allow yourself to hang over the hips. Now press into those legs and try and send the tailbone up towards the sky. Also, you want to be very careful of how your back feels. If there's any sharp pains or any sort of niggles going on, allow yourself to soften the knees and take it a little bit more relaxed in this pose. So the pressing the tailbone up is everything feeling healthy. Anything else? Take it a bit easy. Okay, now to come out of that, we'll lift the right foot very gently, take the hand out, and then do the same with the left. And just wait a couple of seconds for your fingers to come back to life, and then start to walk the hands towards the front of the mat into your down dog. We're going to take a little breath from there and walk the feet. We're going to come up onto the tippy toes and take a slow old stroll into the front of the mat. So the feet move 4 or 5 inches maybe. Try and keep the legs straight. Now you just get stronger on the wrists, and you definitely feel your breath get a little bit more challenged, and then eventually you'll have to concede and walk the feet in flat to the floor. Bring the hands onto the hips, and allow yourself to lift up. Take the arms out wide as we breathe in. And then bring the hands down to the floor again. Now, hopefully you started with a brick and a block, and the brick's fairly close to the front of the mat. Turn that one end, center of the mat. Take a little breath from here and take the right foot to the back of the mat into a lunge. So I just want to draw that out a little bit. Just wiggle the foot out. Make sure the front knee stays over the ankle. That hip to get a little lower. A strong back leg. So I'm on the fingertips, as you can probably see. Take one more breath here, and then drop the heel onto the center line, ready for warrior two. And keeping the hips pointing over towards the right side, and the hands alongside your body, and get a little bit of lift as you press that back leg down. Float your right arm forwards in line with your torso, and lift your body and arm up into your warrior two. We'll begin to straighten the front leg. Send the hips a little towards the back of the mat. And then start to extend out over that front side. I'm going to scoop the brick and bring that now underneath my shoulder, because at least I can see where it is. And take the top arm up towards the sky. I want to press down through both feet and press the heel of the hand down into that block. So as far as I can, I'm pushing away from the ground with everything I've got. Just keeping that breath steady. Top arm, try and relax the shoulder a little bit. Rotate around through the spine rather than through the shoulder. Soften the front knee. Allow myself to move the brick and come gently back up into my warrior two. And as I do, I'm going to float the arms up towards the sky and then bring them down onto the inside of this front leg. And take a little breath from there and walk the hands around to the long side of the mat, turning the toes in and the heels out. I'm going to be on the fingertips to start with. Press the feet into the floor. Let the back of the legs open out a little bit, get them used to being straight as much as they can be. Again, just notice if your shoulders are hunched up around your ears. I'll just draw them back a little bit. And then on the exhale, we're going to draw the belly in and allow the chest to sink towards the ground like a pendulum swinging through, whilst we very gently press the hip bones up towards the sky. If you need to adjust when you're in the pose, you can do. Sometimes you have to move the heels in or out a little bit more. The hands are as wide as the shoulders. The shoulders are broad and relaxed. Again, we try to avoid collapsing around the ears. We'll come up slowly, halfway, and then spinning on the feet, take the hands around to the front of the mat and step back into down dog. We're going to scissor the left leg towards the sky. And then I'm going to draw the left knee in towards the chest again and come into the fallen triangle by taking that left foot out to the right side as far as I can on the side edge. Same with the back foot onto the side edge, and then open the chest up towards the sky. So bring the hands back down onto the floor and step myself back into down dog. Draw the right knee in towards your chest. Bring that foot through into your lunge, onto your fingertips. And press out through the back heel. Press off the toes into the forward bend. And we'll do the same again. Allow ourselves to lift. Hands high on the breath in. Hands into the heart. Soften the knees a little. Allow ourselves to fold over. Take the left foot back into the lunge. Wiggle it out. Drop the back heel onto the center line. Check your front knee stays over your ankle. Spin the hips out towards the left. Lift the body a little. Draw that left hand forwards. Exhale, dry through the shin. So lift yourself into your warrior two. We'll slowly straighten the front leg. Send the hips a little towards the back. Gradually lengthen out of that front leg. With the block, break, bring it underneath where your shoulder is. Allow yourself to press down and lift up. Final breath. Soften the knee. Bring ourselves back into warrior two. Just moving the brick out of the way. Hands come high on the inhale. And down onto the inside of the front foot. Walk the fingers gradually around. Turning the toes into that wide angled forward bend. Allow yourself to sink down slowly. Send the hips up towards the sky. Keep pressing those feet down. Lifting those hips. Strong on the legs. Slowly lift back up. Carefully walking the hands around into the lunge. Scissoring the right leg. Down dog. Knee into the chest. And that right foot travels over to the left. Drop the heel in. Open up the chest into that fallen triangle. And comes down to the floor. Stepping back into your down dog. Draw your left knee in. Bring your foot through into the lunge. Take a little breath. Press off those back toes. Into the forward fold. I'll take the hands high again. And then towards the heart. And exhale down. Taking the right foot back, drop the heel in. Lift into warrior two. This time we'll take an advancing warrior. So we'll bring the hands in towards the heart. Turn the chest and hips towards the front mat. Extend the right hand forwards, left hand behind. So press out through the palm of the hands and lean over that front thigh. Now let the front arm drop down to the floor. The back arm does the same. Take a little breath. Allow yourself to just come into a lunge. Hands alongside the body. Take them forwards. Slowly lift yourself up to a high crescent. Bring the hands down to the floor. Drop the back heel in. Lift into your warrior two again. Straighten the front leg. Send the hips back. Allow yourself to lengthen out. One hand down. One hand high. Now take the top arm towards the front of the mat as you exhale. Take a breath. And rotate the chest and the hips down towards the ground as you soften the front knee. And then walk the fingers around along the side of the mat. Turn the toes in, long body, and exhale through. We'll lift our way back up. Put the fingers around to the front of the mat. Step it in to the forward bend. Bring hands onto the hips and let ourselves lift up. Inhale high. Hands to heart. Weight into the toes. Drawing the belly in. Fingers down. Left leg back into the lunge. Drop the heel in. Allow ourselves to lift into our warrior two. Bring the hands in towards the heart. Advancing warrior will turn. Press it out. Keep the back foot grounded. Sole of the foot to the floor. Right arm comes towards the ground. Left hand comes to the ground. We're on the fingertips and we lift the back heel. Hands draw alongside the body. And they gradually float out in front. Drive through that front shin to lift up. Take a little breath. Bring the hands down to the floor. Drop the back heel in. Hands alongside the body. That left arm goes forward. Drive up again. Warrior two. Straightening the front leg. And exhaling out into triangle pose. One breath here. to open up. Soften the front knee, float back into your warrior two. Hands come high and then down on the inside of this front leg. Walk the fingers around alongside of the mat. Turning the toes in. Press the hips towards the sky. Get a little bit of a lifty in the bum. And then let yourself hinge forwards as you exhale. Now press back up slowly. Walk fingers around towards the front of the mat. Take a little breath and step into that forward fold. Bring the hands onto your hips. Soften the knees and let yourself lift. Inhale high. Hands into the heart. Slowly exhale down to the floor. Taking the right foot back into lunge and dropping the heel in. Lifting into our warrior two. And then hands come into the heart. And we'll take advancing warrior again. And this time we're going to keep that right hand out in front. And allow the left hand to join. We can open ourselves back up into our warrior two. Straighten the front legs and the hips back. And lengthen into our triangle pose. Now bring a hand down, hand high. Take a little breath there. Soften the front knee. Now you're going to let the back hand come down onto the sort of outside of the hip. Begin to take the fingers of your left hand forwards as you walk your back foot about halfway in. Now you can use the block out in front if you need to get to the floor. And what we need to do is lift the back foot. We're going to lean into the front leg a little bit. Turn the toes out to the long side of the mat, foot is flexed. Press out through the heel. And when you find your balance, you have to take that top arm up towards the sky. It's important to have the back leg running down the line of the mat, not swinging around too much. Now soften the front knee, place the back foot back, allow yourself to open up for a last time into the warrior two. Take the hands high, roll them forwards, framing the front foot. We lift the back heel and step into a forward bend. Move the brick over, ready for the second side. Hands come onto the hips. And we'll let ourselves lift up. Inhale high. And through the heart. And exhale down to the floor. Taking a breath. Left foot to the back of the mat, dropping the heel in. And letting ourselves lift into our warrior two. Bring the hands in towards your heart. Breath in. And out to advancing warrior. Again, take the right hand forwards to line up both. Allow yourself to lift into your warrior two. Straighten the front leg, send the hips back, and lengthen into your triangle pose. Hand on the shin, hand to the sky. Both feet pressing down. Soften the front knee. And allow yourself to bring your hand onto the hip on that back. So you want to make sure that your foot hasn't sort of twisted around in this one. Make sure your front foot is pointing forwards. Take the hand out onto that brick. Step the back foot in halfway. Allow yourself to slowly lean into the front leg. And lift that back leg away from the ground. When you find your balance, allow yourself to lift top arm up. Now, the leg that's lifted, keep the foot flexed and press out through the heel. I'll actually keep it up for you. Makes it a lot easier to lift the leg, and then that helps with the balance. Still strong on that bottom leg, it's taking a lot of weight. There's a tendency to rock around on the foot. But do your best. Now we'll soften the front knee, bring ourselves back into lunge. Lift for the last time. Ooh, into warrior two, that's a biggie. Hands come high, down to the floor. Take a little breath. Whew. This time we're going to step it back to down dog. And come forwards into a plank. We'll let the knees come to the floor, taking the block behind the toes. Then we're just going to lift up onto all fours, have the feet pre-spread about the size of that block. Roll the heels in to the corner edges to let ourselves come into a nice little squat. So I'm going to bring the feet to point in the same direction as the knees, so out to the side, hands in towards the heart. I'm going to roll the shoulders down and wide, and then start to draw the knees out by pressing those elbows in and bringing the hands in towards my heart. That's where you have to kind of draw the shoulders back to get your hands in towards your body a little bit more. And drawing the belly in, fraction as well. Try to allow the hips to sink, but draw your body up out of the pelvis at the same time. So there's a feeling of lengthening through the spine. The muscles are working in that direction. Now you're going to take the hands behind and just lengthen the legs out gently. So sitting on the block for a moment and just wriggling the ankles around a little bit and saying hello to the legs again. I'm going to move forwards just a fraction, so I'm off of the block, and let the soles of the feet come to the floor. I'm going to take the block out and put that between the thighs. And squeezing those together, I'll bring the feet together as well a little bit. I'm leaning back a little bit, but I'm going to try and lift the chest and my sort of belly button towards the ceiling. Even though I'm drawing my belly button in at the same time towards my spine to keep everything nice and supported, I'm going to try and drive it out rather than sort of rounding it into the back of the sitting bones. I'm going to be more on the front edge. I'm just going to come into boat pose, so I'm going to lift the feet away from the ground. You could stay in this position with the hands around the back of the legs and the shins parallel to the ground, or you could extend them out and feel the front of your quads working a little bit more. And you can also take the hands away and breathe. So one pose, a number of variations. Then let the hands come around, feet to the floor. Allow yourself to sit back up. So you'll notice how you kind of rock onto those sitting bones. Some people have got round sitting bones, some people have got square. So if you sort of had a bit more of a clunk, you are in the square group. So am I. Sitting up nice and tall. Try and let those hip flexors relax whilst we're doing this. And then we're ready for the second version of it. So we'll just take that again. leaning back, chest comes forwards and up. Draw the feet in a little closer. We get lift off to whichever level you want to work with. And then we breathe. And then bring the hands through and down. His legs are very tired today. And move the blocks out of the way and just spin the feet around towards the back of the mat as we come down onto our bellies. I'm going to take the feet out about as wide as the mat. Roll the heels out a little bit, boot laces down. And then bring my hands alongside the bottom edges of the ribs. Palms facing down and the elbows drawn and squeezed together a little bit. On the inhale, going to lift the chest away from the ground. Continue to squeeze those elbows and shoulders together a little bit. And exhale on the way down. I'm also going to do my best to turn the heels outward as I press down through the thighs and try and keep the boot laces on the ground. Lift. So I'm going to take the hands now, palm facing down by the side of the body, and we're going to take locust pose. So I'm going to lift the chest, the hands, and the thighs away from the floor on the inhale. So inhaling up, and exhale it down. Again, we're avoiding using the neck. So we're trying to sort of keep the line of the spine through the back of the neck constant the whole way through. Inhaling up. Slowly releasing back down. Take a little breath from there. Press the palms into the ground. Lengthen the legs away. And we're going to try and just lift the right thigh away from the floor. Press down into the long leg and the arms a little. One more breath. And then let the leg come down. A little wriggle through the back muscles. And we'll do the same on the opposite side. So lifting the thigh, pressing down. Trying to keep the leg strong and straight. And bring everything back down. Bring the feet again about hip distance apart rather than mat distance. Allow yourself to bend both knees carefully and bring the heels in towards your bottom. You're going to take the hands back one at a time and find that ankle joints. Try and keep the knees hip distance apart and draw the heels in towards your bottom. Now press the thighs and your hips into the ground. And allow yourself to flex your ankles, so toes towards knees. Keeping the hips pressing down and the thighs against the floor. You're going to slowly allow your chest to draw forwards and up. Allow the shoulders to squeeze back a little bit. Try to keep the heels in towards your bottom to start with. I'm just pressing the thighs down. Now on the next exhale, you're going to see if you can press the shins away a little bit more. Again, keeping those thighs touching the ground. We'll take another breath and exhale the soles of the feet to the sky. And release down gently. And let the feet come to the floor. Bring the hands more or less aligned with the bottom of the ribs again. Roll the shoulders back. Bring it out through the spine a little bit so it feels like it's come back to normal sense. And then peel away from the floor to bring yourself back up onto all fours. And we're just going to spin the feet out to whichever side you like and let the legs come out towards the front. And we'll take the block behind again and let ourselves lift up. So Dandasana, so the feet are together, the thighs roll in a little bit, toes flex towards me. Press the sitting bones down, the spine lengthen, think about the head position as well. The hands out to the side just really as a reference point. Lengthen the heels away. So begin to bring the right heel in towards the groin. Janu Shastasana. So press that flexed foot in, square the hips towards the front of the mat so they turn around a little bit, and try and press this bent knee towards the floor. We'll roll the thigh of the inner left, the long leg inwards, flex the toes back, and put a little bend into the knee and bring the hands onto the shin. Going to keep the hand in that position. The hinge slowly as I draw the belly in on an exhale over. And allow the ribs and the thighs to meet. So I'm just going to spend a little time, a few breaths here, kind of letting the body ease in. Now the elbows have gone wide, the shoulders are broad and wide as well. The body is sort of lengthening up and forwards. Take another breath from there and see if I can start to roll my chest towards the ground, still drawing the head forwards. See if I can get a little deeper into that bend. Then on the next exhale, I'm going to let the head drop. Let's see if I can bring my head onto my hands. Now the amount of bend you have in your knee will be the amount of bend you need in your knee. Don't worry about it. Don't fixate on it. Just allow yourself to have the toes pointing up towards the sky, pressing lightly into that heel. And we're still pressing down the bent knee out to the side. Get one more breath here and then bring the hands down to the ground so we can push away and lift ourselves up. We'll do the same with the opposite leg. We'll just take our time, bring the heel in, roll the thigh in, flex the foot, get some space, start to hinge over. And several breaths to come in. And again, allow the chest to start to fall. And finally letting the head come down. And bring the hands to the floor again and press away from the ground to lift up. We're going to come into some seated twists. So once you arrive, you're going to take that right foot under and out towards the left. Knee points forward to keep both sitting bones attached to the block. The left leg comes across, the knee is high, foot flat to the floor. Tilt the pelvis. Bring the right hand in between the chest and the thigh, wrap it round, and then just bring the palm to face out to the side, so fingers towards the sky, and use the elbow to bridge against that front leg. As I turn carefully to look over my rear shoulder. And release from there as well. Untangle the legs. Cross over to the opposite side. From there, going to slide just a little bit off of the block, so I'm onto the mat, and allow myself to bring the feet together so the legs are flat to the floor. I'm going to put this bend in again, wriggle onto the front edge of the sitting bone. So start to lean forwards, bring the hands onto the shins, flex the feet back a little, and fold over the thighs. This time I'm going to allow myself to just take the hands underneath the back of the calves and press the palms in gently. So I'm going to draw the chest towards the front of the mat. Try and roll the thighs in towards the center line. Again, try to avoid pulling the head down. Try and keep it in line with where you think your spine is moving to. There's just this little bit of pressure of the hands on the back of the legs. And the elbows getting ever closer to being on the ground. And then we can release and let ourselves lift up. Now I'm going to move the block all the way to the back of the mat. Use the hands behind, just lift the knees and move my bottom towards the heels a little bit so I can roll down onto my spine. I'm going to have the block underneath the back of the head. I'm going to walk the feet in towards the bottom and take the arms out wide, crucifix style, palms up. And on an exhale, let the legs roll over gently towards the right side. And I'm going to see if I can just turn the muscles off. So releasing any tension that may have built up through the class. The muscles get tired, they get a little bit tight. You can turn the head to the left if you wish, or just allow your face to point towards the sky once you're relaxed. We'll bring the legs slowly back up. And then roll across to the opposite side. legs back up again. The feet close in towards the bottom. We'll take the left leg up towards the sky and cross the thighs over, crossing the legs. I'm going to draw the belly in towards the spine, lower back to the floor, and bring the knees above my body a little more. So drawing them towards the chest and taking the feet respectively out to the opposite sides of the mat. Draw my chin in towards my chest, then my chest lifts. Scoop the arms around and see if I can find the ankles. Now I want to try and get the shins to be level on both sides, and then allow myself to lay back down, drawing the knees lightly into the body and feet out wide. Supine eagle pose. Sorry, supine cow face style. Different pose. Now release the legs from there, untangle, give them a little stretch up towards the sky, and then bring the feet down to the center line and do the same with the right leg, crossing over. Thighs to marry up towards each other. Draw the belly in, knees come in, feet go wide, chin to chest. Lift the chest away from the floor. See if you can find your heels. Draw them towards you a little more. And then roll gently back down, spine flat to the floor. And then we can release from there. And stretch the legs out again. Bring the feet to the floor. Send those heels out to the corner edges of the mat. Just let hands come out to the side as well. And just resting gently into the floor. Begin to stretch those fingers and toes. Breathe a little deeper. Begin to move the wrists and the ankles. The nervous system gradually turn itself back on. When you feel ready and you're back in the room, allow yourself to stretch out in any way that feels good. And gradually allow the heels to slide in towards your body a leg at a time. Move the knees in towards the body for the simplest and gentlest of hugs. And then on an exhale, roll carefully onto your right side. Towards your body, turn the chest to the floor, taking a breath in. Use your hands to press into the floor and smoothly lift yourself back up. Roll yourself into a seated posture. Allow yourself to sit tall. And bring the hands in towards your heart. Take a breath in, close your eyes. And a slow exhalation, letting the chin drop. Begin to allow the belly draw into the spine. And simply bow to the floor to seal your practice. Use the breath coming back in to build the spine for you. Allow the head to lift gradually and the eyes open. Namaste. Thank you for joining me today. Hope you enjoyed. See you on the mat again soon.